Very good evening to everyone. Today we are discussing the chapter Mineral Nutrition, which is a very short, simple, sweet chapter. Generally, from the point of view of meat, this chapter mostly questions are not asked that much. And even if he is asked, they are not of that much difficulty. But in Gujarat board syllabus, it is there. In CBSE board syllabus, it is deleted. Okay, so we need to study this. But I personally feel this chapter, that is mineral nutrition, is very, very important because in our body, four basic elements are there which are making all the important biomolecules like protein, lipid, carbohydrates, and DNA, okay, and RNA. But apart from that, there are many minerals which are very, very essential from the point of view of production of many things. For example, we know that hemoglobin is a metalloprotein. So obviously, apart from being a protein which is having carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen, it is having iron present in it. So if a plant, uh, in case of plant, I can talk about chlorophyll, which is having magnesium. Okay. In our case, it is hemoglobin or myoglobin, which is having iron. So we need to understand by our diet, in case of animals, we consume these things by our diet. And in case of plants, they obtain it from the soil. So if they are not obtaining it and they are having only the basic minerals, that will not be enough to suffice the requirement of nutrition. So this chapter, although not very point of important from the point of view of meat, but you should know what are the elements which are responsible for what kind of functions in plants. So all organisms, as I said, will be requiring macromolecules. We call them macromolecules because they are having very big molecular size. Okay. For example, a protein hemoglobin is having four polypeptide chain. Two polypeptide chains are having 151 amino acid long, and two are 156 amino acid long. Now, each amino acid, there will be presence of minimum. If I'm talking about glycine, which is the simple amino acid, it is having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So glycine itself, which is the simplest amino acid, is having 10 atoms. So you can understand, if I multiply it with the number of atoms present in each amino acid and then multiply it with number of amino acid, how big the molecule. So that's why we call them macromolecule, because their weight is not mentioned in or measured in normal measurement, that is U. Generally, when I'm talking about chemistry, the molecular weight of water is mentioned in U. But in case of biomolecules, we are using the unit Dalton. It was proposed by famous scientist Dalton. And these macromolecules are in kilodaltons. So you can understand how big they are. So there was a technique which was proposed by Julius von Sach, and thanks to these scientists who thought about these alternate methods of cultivation, because every now and then we are destroying agricultural land because of our heavy need of land for the purpose of building houses, factories, hospitals, schools, markets. So if we do not have land where the plants will be cultivated, because as there is population explosion, obviously there will be demand of land, but there will be demand of food also. Those human beings will not be mutated that they will not feel hungry. They will definitely feel hungry. So thanks to Julius von Sach, he thought of understanding one aspect, that what soil provides to plant. This is a very good question. That soil is providing what to plant? Because it is known to us that the carbon source of plant is produced by plant only by photosynthesis method. So then why plants require soil? So he thought and he understood, he started studying. Before him also many scientists found out that these are the minerals present in soil and these are requirements. What was his idea was, he wanted to cultivate plant in a setup which is known as hydroponics. Hydro means water and ponics means growth medium for cultivation of plants. So what was the special setup? It had solution of nutrient which is responsible for different types of growth in plant. Okay, so consider a nutrient solution is kept for a long period in a open atmosphere. Do you think it will be advisable for plants to grow there? What may be the problem faced by plants? If I keep a solution of something in an open bottle for a longer period of time, do you think you should consume that solution? So what will be the problem? Grow. And that thing will be spoiled. Second thing is, you know that in soil another factor is there that is called aeration. Soil particles are having gaps in between them. So these gaps will make sure that root cells also get some air and they can survive. You can see things that if there is too much water in the soil, the plants die. You know, कोई बार ऐसा होता है बच्चे जोश में प्लांट्स लगाते हैं, जैसे आई मेक श्योर माय चाइल्ड प्लांट अ प्लांट एंड टेक्स केयर ऑफ इट. You all should do it in your life. You know why? Because it will make you responsible. It will make you understand the importance of life. So what happens is, if you are putting too much water, the plant will die. If you are putting too less water, then also plant will die. So in such condition, what is advisable? To give minimum amount of water. Why? Because soil particles are having gap in between through which air can go in. And the root are also having living cells. No? They also, living cells means they need to respire, they need oxygen for respiration. So to solve that problem, he put some kind of aerating tube in the hydroponic solution. Why? What is the aerating tube? This aerating tube is responsible for adding air in the medium, which will make sure that the medium is having enough supply of dissolved oxygen and plants can take it. You must have in grade 12, you studied about bioreactor, isn't it? There also we talked about aeration, isn't it? So it is similar. So the problem of aeration is solved by aeration tube, and the problem of infection is solved in a way that sterilized nutrient medium is added, and plants are not grown on roadside, they are grown in a lab. So in hydroponic system, you need to be careful about contamination. You can see this hydroponic pack where the plants are planted, and this blue colored box is having the medium, and this pipeline ensures the flow of medium. So this is the way it is done. Now, it is very useful. Why? It is very useful because many a cases I can cultivate a plant even in this room if I have proper infrastructure present here. What are the infrastructure? That is obviously the sterilized condition, a lab for ability to prepare nutrient media, sterilization, inoculation. But I can do that. Second thing is, if I can cultivate plants by hydroponic, I can have multi-level farming. Do you know what is multi-level farming? If I am having a land of this much structure of this paper, I can have this much area only, isn't it? I can have this much area only. But if I can have three of same level one after another, so that means this area is multiplied by 3. So this is what is tried by scientists in hydroponic. You can have tiers of plants. So in the small area, you can multiply the harvest by leveling up the plants. So that is also a very important thing. And it is day by day we are developing new techniques. Later on, there was a technique that was developed which is known as aeroponics, where plants can be grown in air. They don't even require the water solution. Okay. So nowadays, hydroponic is used in many countries for commercial production of vegetables like tomatoes, seedless cucumbers, and then lettuce. Lettuce is one of the most cultivated plant that is like produced by hydroponic. We all know salad leaves, lettuce. So now this hydroponic gave us an idea about uh, essential mineral elements, because if you want to cultivate a plant by hydroponic, you need to understand that the plants need to get some minerals for their betterment. So if I want to cultivate a plant by using hydroponic medium, then obviously I need to make sure that the plant is cultivated in constituents which are particularly required for that plant. You know, there are certain plants which are having specific requirements. Let's say some species of plants are there, they love to grow on gold. Grade 11 students, I taught you about one plant with which we can detect the source of a mineral. Can you tell me? In classification chapters, we studied about that plant. It is copper moss. I taught you. So copper moss is a plant which grows in the area where soil is rich in copper. Understood? So obviously, this is something very important. We should understand that before I want to grow any plant in hydroponic, I need to know what are the mineral nutrients required. Some of them are common, but some of them are exclusively unique for that specific type of plant. Okay. Some of them can grow in radioactive strontium. Some of them can be used for this purpose. For example, there is a new field which is known as phytoremediation. I will write down the spelling. It is called phytoremediation. So we know that at many places the soils are having heavy metals, the soils are having radioactive elements, and people who are present there are getting affected by them. Because if field is having arsenic in the uh, soil, that means water of that area will have trace amount of arsenic, and the soil and the cultivated plants in that area will have arsenic in their body. So how to do that? आप ये तो पॉसिबल नहीं है कि उस एरिया का सॉइल उठा लो, लैब में जाके आर्सेनिक अलग करके वापस से डाल दो. Not possible. But there we can plan for phytoremediation, where we can cultivate plants which can absorb arsenic from soil. Obviously, it will not occur within 1 month or 1 year, but over a period of time, the arsenic content can be reduced. Okay, so these type of things are known as phytoremediation. The way I told you that plants are having gold, they can take gold. There are microbes which can eat up the gold. So they are used for phytoremediation. Now, how to know? How we can know that which plant is requiring which nutrient? How can you set up an experiment by which you can decide that what are the nutrients, what are the effect of that nutrients on plant life? Now, so the best thing is you prepare a solution. Consider the A. It is having all micronutrients and macronutrients except iron. B is having all other except magnesium. C is having all other except manganese. So this way you prepare the nutrient solutions with different types of elements. One of it is absent, all others are present. And you grow different plantlets into them. So the symptoms observed in that plantlet is due to what? Due to absence of that element. For example, if you are growing a plantlet into a nutrient medium where iron is deficient, the plants will have chlorosis. That means in their leaf they will have yellow patches because chlorophyll will not be if we are cultivating plants in a nutrient solution where magnesium is deficient and iron also, that is indirectly. So in case of magnesium, you can easily understand that the chlorosis will be there due to scarcity of chlorophyll. Understood? So this is the way scientists did series of experiments to understand the impact of each and every nutrient, and then they developed the solution which is known as NOPS solution, because this experiment was performed by a scientist whose name was Knop, and based on the idea of Knop, K-N-O-P, Knop, and based on idea of Knop, von Sachs later on devised the method of hydroponics. So you can understand that a single experiment that we see is having so many years of tireless efforts. So we will look ahead. So when we can call that this element is essential for a plant. Okay. So 17 essential elements are there. You can see them on screen. These are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, sulfur, calcium, boron, chlorine, manganese, iron, nickel, copper, zinc, molybdenum, and hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. Out of these, some of them are required in more amount, like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. They are called macro elements, and the other ones are known as micro elements because they are required in a very small amount. So the definition or the criteria of essentiality of element is these elements should be able not to be able to complete their life cycle with this. Plants should not be able to complete their life cycle without this element. Then only we can say that okay, this element is essential. Okay, so second criteria of essentiality is this element should be indispensable. That means it should not be replaced by other elements. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए चलो ये एलिमेंट नहीं है दूसरा मैंने थोड़ा ज्यादा डाल दिया, it can be adjusted. It should be absolutely essential for that plant, that then only we can call it essential. And obviously it should be part of plant's metabolism. So these three are characteristics of an element to be called essential. Okay. So now you can see in last slide we talked about selenium, gold, isn't it? But in this slide, when I am talking about the list of essential elements, it is not mentioned here. So aren't they essential? What do you think? They are for specific group of plants. They are not essential for all plants. And this is the basic thing which is essential for most of the plants. So as I told you that they can be classified as macro and micro. So these are names of macro elements: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Okay. Why they are called macro elements? Because they are required more than 10 millimole per kg of dry weight of matter. So that's why they are called. So kindly remember this, what I can say, value, because many a times in MCQ this value is given and asked, hey, what is macro element? Okay. So micro or trace elements are required obviously less than 10 millimole per kg of dry matter, and they are this includes iron, manganese, copper, molybdenum, zinc, boron, chlorine, and nickel. Okay. Sodium, silicon, cobalt, and selenium is also required. For example, halophytes are there. Halophytes are salt-loving plants. They can grow comfortably in salt conditions. So they will be required sodium for some of their life cycle parts, but it is not applicable to most of the plants. For others, this sodium is toxic. So based on the functions, so based on the amount required, we can classify essential elements as micro and macro. Based on the functions, we can classify it as components of biomolecules, that is structural element of cell. This will be carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. We call it CHON, EHON. Okay. And energy related chemical compounds are magnesium and ATP, that is phosphorus. Why? Because ATP, though we can understand that phosphorus is producing the energy currency of the cell. Why magnesium? Why we are classifying magnesium as an energy related chemical compound? Think and let me know. Magnesium is there because someone said the correct reason that it is responsible for trapping the solar chlorophyll. It is actually releasing electron and accepting electron. All photosynthesis and respiration is redox reaction. Okay. So second is elements that activate or inhibit enzymes. That means they are there should be someone to police the police. So that we observed in case of animal hormone chapter, but it is equally true for the chapter of plants. So there are elements which are doing this purpose, and they are either activating some hormone or deactivating some hormone. For example, for all ATP related reactions, magnesium ion is required. Magnesium ion is responsible to activate the ATPase. Okay, they are there as a cofactor. Okay, similarly, magnesium is activator of enzyme called Rubisco and PP carboxylase. Don't worry, you will study them. Then you remember. Zinc is activator of alcohol dehydrogenase. Uh, this chapter only we will study about molybdenum, which is an activator of nitrogenase enzyme. So, fourth are elements that alter the osmotic potential of cell. You know, in our body, we have three elements which are mainly controlling the transmission of nerve impulse, the osmotic potential maintenance and all. So these are potassium, sodium and calcium. But in plants, in most of the plants other than halophile, sodium is very much toxic. They cannot tolerate sodium up after a certain level. So for them, potassium is something which is mainly maintaining the osmotic potential of the cell. We discussed osmotic potential means cell की जो एक concentration होती है, that is maintained by presence of this potassium ion. And potassium ion is responsible for maintaining the opening and closing of stomata, which is very important because stomatas are the like pores through which they get water. Sorry, they release water and they get oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Okay, so based on the function, these are the four classifications. Macro and micronutrients have specific roles. They control the permeability of cell membrane. Osmotic concentration we discussed. In this unit only, we will study about the chapter respiration. There you will see that plants are having electron transport system. So the metalloproteins like cytochrome, ferredoxin, they participate in this process are having minerals in them. For example, there is iron sulfur protein, which is having iron and sulfur along with the protein. And these metals are very interestingly participating in the reaction. As I said that photosynthesis respiration is a redox reaction. That means their substance is getting oxidized and again reduced, again oxidized, again reduced. So when any element is getting extra energy, they liberate electron. That electron will roam around and come back after giving energy to someone else. So this is what is very important, and for leaving electron, obviously we know the best is metals, isn't it? We all know that metals can readily lose the electron. Next is buffering action. This is something very, very important. You know, we eat so many types of food, we drink water, we drink so many things. But in our body, the pH of blood is always maintained because blood is a very good buffer. Do you know what is buffer? Chapter number 7, chemistry grade 11. Not done. So when you will study, you will come to know in detail. Let me just tell you in short that buffering action is something where the pH is maintained by a solution. So buffers are generally prepared by the salts of weak acids and base. What they do, if there is decrease in the pH, they will release some ions to take that pH back to the level. If there is increase in pH, then also they will release some ions so that pH can be back to the one which was there. Understood? So even if there is a release of some ions, they will always make sure that it is maintained. Okay. So that buffering action is possible by who? Ions. And ions are what? Elements only. No? So that is there. Enzymatic activity, as I told you that many enzymes are having cofactors, which are metals or minerals. So for them it is required. and obviously macromolecules and micromolecules have them. For example, hemoglobin and others. Okay, so we will talk now specifically about role of each and every element. So nitrogen is required by plant in highest amount because it is present in protein. Amino acids are having amine, that means nitrogen is present in them, isn't it? Apart from that, where nitrogen is present? Very good. So that's why it is almost indispensable for organisms to have nitrogen. So most important thing is it is present for formation of protein, nucleic acid. Apart from that, chlorophyll also. Chlorophyll is there, vitamins are there, there are vitamins which are having nitrogen, because once upon a time vitamins name was there due to amines. We call them vital amines, but later on it was observed that all vitamins are not having amines. That's why it is changed, but many of them are having nitrogen. And hormones, obviously we completed the chapter number 22, and there are peptide hormones and amino acid derivative hormones. So obviously they will be having nitrogen. So next is phosphorus. It is, what do you think, what is the role of phosphorus? DNA only. Without phosphorus, DNA is there. And energy currency. So obviously it is there. Next is potassium. Potassium, as I said, that it is responsible for maintaining the osmotic balance. It maintains the protein synthesis. During protein synthesis, potassium acts as a cofactor. Opening, closing of stomata, it is required. That's what is maintaining osmotic balance. When there is opening of the stomata, guard cells need to swell. They need to turgid, no? 11. Next is calcium. It is actually required by meristematic and differentiating tissues. And you know that the first layer of cell wall that is laid after cell division, that is middle lamella, is having calcium and magnesium peptide. So it is required in high amount. Apart from that, for formation of spindle also, calcium ion is required. Okay. Can anyone tell me role of calcium? चलो हम एक काम करते हैं. We will talk about nitrogen and phosphorus तो all right है. Potassium हमें कहाँ चाहिए? Very good. And where we require calcium? और blood. हाँ बोलो बोल. सही बोल रहे हो बोलो. Apart from that, neuromuscular junction may be because the sarcoplasmic reticulum secrete the calcium. No, very good. So next is magnesium. Without it, plants cannot survive because it is the central part of chlorophyll. You can see the structure of chlorophyll. Its center is made up by magnesium, and obviously it is responsible for, as I said, many ATPase enzymes. The cofactor is magnesium. So without that, the breakdown of ATP is not possible. Then it is responsible for maintenance of structure of ribosome and also DNA and RNA production. So for two subunits of ribosomes to join, that is small and big, during translation, we will be requiring calcium. So next is sulfur. Sulfur is present in proteins because two amino acids are there which are having sulfur in them. Apart from that, there are biotin, there are coenzyme A, and I told you about iron sulfur protein. All of them are requiring sulfur as a component. What are the sulfur containing amino acids? What is cysteine and cysteine? P-I-E-N-E. This is cysteine. There is cysteine, another spelling of T-E-N-E. Two cysteine connected with each other by disulfide linkage is called cysteine. P-E-N-E. Cysteine amino acids connected via each other via disulfide bond. We call them cysteine. P-E-N-E. Okay, next is iron. It is, as I said, that part of ferredoxin and cytochromes, which are electron carriers. They carry electron from one to another. Because what they do, the ferric is converted into ferrous and again ferrous to ferric, ferric to ferrous, ferrous to ferric. So this is the way, because as I said that it is all redox reaction. Good morning, Mishka. Good morning, Priyanshi. So it also activates catalase enzyme. What is catalase enzyme? कैटल में पाया जाता है. वेरी गुड. तो कौन सी एंजाइम ऐसा है जो कैटलाइज करने में हेल्प नहीं करता है? ये एक्टिवेट करेगा. बताओ. Socho. Try and find out what it cat, because I was teaching and no one asked me this question. What is catalyst? No, Rutu, not now. You find out and let me know later. Okay, so we सारे एंजाइम कैटलिस्ट की तरह काम करता है ऐसा. So what is the role of iron in our body? Good. This hemoglobin. Myoglobin also. Next is manganese, Mn. You will find it. So manganese is very much required for nitrogen metabolism. Cytochrome is an electron carrier. Electron transport system as well as photosynthesis. You will study them. But catalase, ढूंढना. जाते वक्त. Okay. So many enzymes which are involved in photosynthesis are getting activated by manganese, and it is very much required for photolysis of water. You know that water molecule is broken down to release H plus and OH minus, and this H plus is maintaining the proton flow in the cell, and that's why no need to write Rutu, because we are going to study photosynthesis. Okay, So next is zinc. Zinc is very much important because it activates carboxylase enzyme. What carboxylase enzyme does? Carboxy what? Very good. I taught the classification of enzyme, and today I am feeling that why I taught. It was referred, Rutu. Bushi. What she is saying? Carboxylation, addition of CO. वही लिखा है. Decarboxylation and carboxylation didn't. I don't. These people do not answer. I can understand, but I hope you studied photosynthesis and respiration. Anyways, zinc is required for synthesis of auxin. Auxin. Next is copper. It is required in very stress amount. If there is more copper, it is poisonous for plant. But there are copper mosses which grow very well in copper infested area, and many people find out the copper mine by detecting the presence of copper. I showed them the picture also, they forgot. Anyways. So copper is also can be oxidized and reduced as cuprous cupric, and that's why copper is also acting as an electron carrier. Next is boron. Boron is first. This should be answered by all grade 12 students. What is the function of boron? All of you must have performed this practical. Are you in grade 12? Rutu, slowly and steadily you are losing that thing. Do not divert. Very easy to do. I am having a high target for you. You also should keep a very high target for yourself. Isn't it? Bolo. What are the practicals you performed in grade 12? You performed the practical of pollen tube germination. So there you didn't take boric acid. Without that, pollen tube was germinated. Purple color. So once a practical is to be done, it is duty of a teacher to explain. I am not going that part. But it is dumb for a student not to read that practical and perform it. Because afterwards, any profession of biology you go, you need to go to lab and perform practicals. Science without practical doesn't have any basics. So if you are feeling that you are not attending classes, it is all right, but you should know your practical. You will have external examiner for both CBSE and Gujarat board. External practical examination is there. And आपके केस में तो बाहर के स्कूल में जाके देना पड़ता है. I guess you are aware of that. इनकी तो चलो पीछे से हम एटलीस्ट पहचान वाले टीचर के पास रहने से, पहचान वाले लैब में रहने से इंसान कुछ कर सकता है. बट फॉर गुजरात बोर्ड यू हैव टू गो टू अदर स्कूल. Okay, so kindly pay attention to your practicals. Anyways, so it is helpful for cell differentiation also, cell elongation also, and movement of carbohydrate from one place to another. It is very important for that. Yes. It is helpful. They are acting as a like factors which are responsible for doing that. Membrane functioning. Membrane permeability control. That is also boron is having role. Rishan, wish to take a break? You can, but do not disturb us. I guess you are aware that I am recording this call. Anyways, next is molybdenum. Molybdenum is very much important for nitrogen fixation, and it is very important component of nitrogen related enzymes. Chlorine obviously uh, uh, generally is absorbed as a negatively charged ion. It is responsible for photolysis, and it is maintaining the anion cation balance of the cell. So there are various deficiency symptoms of plants. In this picture, it is so nicely depicted that if a person, a plant is having phosphorus deficiency, it is observed as a purplish patch. In case of magnesium deficiency, the color of leaf will turn yellow. In case of zinc, it will be yellow and there will be black patches in between. In Mn, the light color leaf will be there. Sulfur also, it will be yellow. In case of boron, the apical growth will be hampered, and same with calcium. Iron also, as I said earlier, that chlorophyll formation process will be hampered. In case of copper, the immature leaf fall will be there. In molybdenum, there will be yellow patches in the leaf, same for potassium, and in nitrogen also, leaf will be yellow. So we are not expert, we cannot look into a plant and detect, but who are expert can look into a plant and detect the soil is having what type of deficiency. And if it is not supplied properly, definitely the plant will die. And obviously, if we are cultivating it from the point of view of harvesting something, we cannot get good harvest from it. So these four leaves, you can see the deficiency of potassium and nitrogen, although they look similar, but there is a difference. Can anyone tell me the difference? So we will talk about rest of the deficiency syndrome, and we need to talk about the nitrogen fixation also. That we will complete in our next lecture. We will stop discussion of today here, and then we will continue in our next lecture. Bye to all of you. Bye.